What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm kind of hijacked. I'm your entertainment for like the next 5 minutes, maybe. Here's Emily, right here. She's actually hosting the panel today. We're waiting on 3 more photographers who are going to join us. 3 of the biggest Instagrammers here in Miami. I have some questions for you guys, though, so we can make sure that we talk about subjects that you guys are really interested in. So first of all, how many people here are photographers? Meaning you have maybe a DSLR camera, little advanced camera, you go out, you take pictures of sunsets and stuff like that. Hashtag sunset. All right, how many people here are iPhone photographers? That should be everybody. Everybody in here has pictures you've taken on your phone. So that's an iPhoneographer, right? Whether it's your food, a selfie, everybody guilty. So how many people here today want to get out of this panel how to get more followers? Is that something that you want to do? How many people here have a brand that they want to learn maybe how to market or, sell their product or service on Instagram? Okay, good. That's good to know. So we don't need to do a selfie seminar, how to take awesome selfies here. No, all right. How many people here are hungry? Well, thanks for coming out, guys. My name's Kato K. Once again, Emily Thomas. She is an amazing travel photographer. If you want, maybe, if you guys want and you have Instagram up, you can maybe check out some of our feeds right now if you want to see some photos, just so you have like a little idea of what each of us, you're going to see shortly too, right?
Do you want me to put the next slide? So
Yeah, sure.
You guys want to see who's speaking today? Yeah. All right.
I think it's, yeah.
Here's a list of everyone who's speaking. So if you guys want to check out some of, this will be up for a little bit. So if you guys want to go and look at some of our feeds there, we have all of our handles listed there. So, yeah.
Nice. Screenshot it. That's the way to do it. When it comes to like maybe the products and services you guys are marketing, any of those fashion, any store or retail store, anybody selling any merchandise, any product or service? Okay. How many people here are on Snapchat, like really into Snapchat right now? Okay, a lot of people. Snapchat, very popular. How many are still using Twitter?
Heck yeah, Twitter's the best.
All right. Still, I mean, you need to check it like once a day, maybe. Just pop in. Yeah, no, I already did. Like, I checked in, so, Alex is like 5 minutes away. He should be like moving in now. Lou should be walking in, but, I don't know.
So what did you want to start? Or did you want to wait?
What's the next slide? What's the next slide about?
It's just all of us that are missing, so which one is going to get people an opportunity?
How many students do we have? How many people still in school? Cool. All right. Heard a shout out FIU. There you go. Yeah, all right. Damn, I didn't know that's all it took was just the FIU. Yeah, I guess we get started. We could just talk casually about some of the first topics. I could go over myself, a little bit about, what you could talk about yourself.
Okay,
And
so
go to
we'll
me?
just do our own introductions and then we'll just go into first topics, and then we can come back to them when they get in here.
Yeah, introduce.
Okay. All right, guys, so we're going to, while we're waiting on some of our other panelists to still show up, we're going to get started here. So we're going to do our introductions. My name is Emily Thomas. A lot of people know me as Emmy Toms. I am a Nikon-sponsored photographer, and I also work for Expedia. So I'm going to go over to my slide. So if you guys want to check out some of my photos there, my Instagram is up there. I have been shooting for about a year and a half now. And the reason why I've been so excited for this panel and talking about storytelling is because up until I had about 50,000 followers on Instagram, I was just using my iPhone. And so I think that knowing and the power of story and being able to share your story is the thing that's going to set you apart. So I've been just shooting on my iPhone for about a year, and that's when Nikon reached out to me and gave me my first DSLR camera, which has allowed me to work with some really cool brands, such as REI, Eddie Bauer, Alaska Airlines, and brands like that. So that's kind of my little introduction. If you want to go, this is Kato.
Hey guys, my name's Kato K. It's not my real name, obviously, but I'm a longtime DJ, radio personality here in Miami on the Power 96 morning show, and I've DJed in clubs and around the world for the past 15 years, and I've been on the radio here in Miami, 3 different radio stations for the past 15 years. I've taken photos my whole life. I'm an Army veteran. I've traveled the world. And whether it was with 35 millimeter film or little disposable camera, then on to the iPhone, the first generations of iPhones, I've always been a photographer, always taken photos. Over the past 2 years is where, like Emily, really dived into it, getting more into the techno aspects with my first DSLR cameras. Now I have too much equipment. I have a credit card that you do not want to see how much money's on there because I buy so much photography equipment, whether it's lenses or cameras or shoulder straps or whatever it may be. I have developed a project called Zapography, which the idea behind it was when you see the Instagram feed, every photo, there's a video attached to it on YouTube, and now through Instagram, now the Instagram has minute-long videos where you actually see the process of where and how that photo was created. So if you see, a photo where you're looking at Lake Louise in the Canadian Rockies, you actually see the hike, how we got there, some of the settings, some of the process behind the scenes on how that photo was captured. I also have developed relationships with several brands to include Major League Baseball. I shoot part-time for Major League Baseball right here at Marlins Park, where I'll shoot for the visiting team. When visiting teams come into play, I'm essentially their photographer for the day, and I pass on photographs for their social media. Also work with the Florida Panthers, with several music festivals such as the Groove Cruise, Ultra Music Festival, Life in Color. So I've been very fortunate that I'm starting to transition and do more work with brands in creative content creation, whether it's videography and also photos. So hopefully today, and like I said, we're waiting on a couple other guys. I guess parking is a little bit crazy outside right now. 3 other local Miami Instagrammers who are just amazing photographers, and they have awesome stories to share with you guys as well. Did you guys know that there's like a huge Instagram community here in Miami and South Florida? Do you guys know about that, kind of the underworld of Instagram? Basically, there's, like anything, there's a huge niche here in Miami where photographers, there's hundreds of us, really. I mean, there's tons of photographers here because obviously we live in a very scenic place with the beaches and the downtown Miami cityscape. I mean, or you just take a trip to Key West. We're so blessed, if you're a photographer, to be able to shoot here every single day and have this subject matter around us in our daily lives. And so we'll have Instagram, Insta meets is what we call them, or photo walks. And from there, we'll meet up and we'll have like a route that we take around the city. And it's a great way, even if you're an iPhoneographer, you shoot with your phone, it's a great way to come out, get into photography. And whether it's you're thinking about buying a camera or you just want to learn how to compose a shot or edit a shot, anything you want to know about Instagram and photography, these meets are a great place to come out and really just make friends. And here we go. Here we have two more of the panel. Make some noise, Woo Supreme, yay! Legendary Alex as well. What's up, man?
All right, so we're going to let them do their introductions as well. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
How's everybody doing today? All right, all right. You mind if I take just 1 minute of your time? Cool? All right. Turn to your right now and tell the person next to you, you're amazing, and I'm glad you're here with me.
You're amazing.
All right, all right. Now, who here has business cards? So everybody has a business that they want to promote here, right? All right. Now, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. That same person that you just spoke to, tell them what you're here for and what you do. Go ahead.
What do you do, brother? That's good, bro. I didn't even know how to talk.
To rock it, bro. You have to start with hip-hop vibes. You have to start with rap, rock and roll.
Hey, how are you?
Sorry, we're a little late.
Yeah. They didn't know how to say that name.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Just remember to give your business card to that person before you leave.
Just been trying to kill time.
All right, I see everybody wants to keep talking. All right, cool. I like that. It's awesome. All right, we're good? Everybody say what's up to everybody? Yeah. All right, my name is Edgar Wu. I'm known as Wu Supreme. I'm a photographer, social influencer, right now a radio show host, and soon to be a podcaster. And I have the pleasure, thank you for Emily Thomas over here to giving me the privilege to actually come here and talk to you guys about Instagram and storytelling. And I think it's a great vibe, and you know, it's a useful tool for businesses at least, especially to get your point or your business across nationwide, not just locally where you are. I'm here to tell you, man, it's all about having fun. And once you have fun, it translates into money, and then money translates into a successful business. So I'm gonna pass it over here to legendary Alex, the man right here, the legend.
Oh, man. I got one, bro. I got one.
Got one? All right.
Well, unlike Wu right here, I suck at talking in front of people. Plus, we can all agree that he killed it. So, my name is Alex. I'm, photographer and social media influencer. I got invited by Emily as well. This is like a great opportunity. And then, I don't know, man, what do you say on these things? I'm also part of MI Explore. We've been photographing Miami for a very long time. What can we say? We love it in here. It doesn't matter where we go. I don't know if all of you guys are here from Miami. I hope you guys are all over the place, but this is a beautiful city. There's a lot here to do, and, pretty sure you guys are going to have a lot of fun. Cool?
Cool. Thank you guys so much for giving your introduction. So we're going to keep this a little casual today, and I'm going to go through, I'm going to ask these photographers some of their experiences doing mobile photography, and I'm going to leave some room at the end for you guys to ask us questions as well, because I know that everyone has different things that they want addressed, and we would love to answer those questions for you. So, he's not here, I don't think. Okay, so the first question is, or the first topic is how to tell stories through photography. And so the first question for myself and another panelist is, what are 3 things that you look for before you press the shutter button? So this is something really important that you want to consider, because we've all seen those photos that, I know that my mom takes on her cell phone that are pretty bad, and like her elbow's like still in the photo, and you're kind of like, what is going on in this picture? I used to be one of those photographers as well. But the thing about telling or sharing your story or developing your brand online is making sure that every single image that you share is telling a story. So we're going to go through that. So with the first question, I gave you guys an example of one of my photos. So this is a photo that I took in San Diego. It's of the sunset here, and if you can see in the bottom, there's the 2 small birds at the bottom. And so whenever I'm taking a photo, I'm always focusing on the rule of thirds. So making sure that in the different 3 parts of my photo that it's telling a different story. So down here in the corner, I wanted to make sure that I had the birds, but I also wanted to make sure that I was focusing on the sunset and drawing people's eyes upwards. So I am always looking for good light, a subject that I can focus on, which for me was the birds, and then highlighting a certain image there. So, Alex, this question is for you. So I pulled some of your photos up there, so maybe you can tell them 3 things you look for when you're taking a photo.
Well, my main thing that I actually like about photography, this is something that I've always based my photography around. It's probably one of the first things that I ever learned about, which is the decisive moment. I'm a huge fan of Henry Cartier-Bresson. I'm sure you guys all know about him. Which is basically getting that moment that it's not gonna happen any other time ever. So, for example, the shot on the left, the reason that I like it so much is not the guy doing the backflip, it's the guy in the bottom right looking at him. There's just something about that moment that was captured when the guy just looked at him. Because this guy looked at him and then just looked away, and I was able to get it. Because I got about 20 photos of him doing the backflip, but it's probably the one that stand out just because of that. It was that moment, the guy just looked at him like, whoa, this guy's doing a backflip in the middle of downtown. So those are like one of the things that always really motivate me to go out and find these moments that they're about to happen and just capturing them right when they happen. Well, the one on the right, this is something that we used to love back in the day, just finding all the beautiful spots in Miami, because, Miami is beautiful regardless, though. That's probably not something very safe just to say like that, but, my friend Matias over there, he's a very brave person. I would never do that in my life. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, do any of you guys have something that you want to add to this question, or?
I would say, just to piggyback off of what both of them said, the rule of third is something that you learn. One of the first things you learn in photography. Also, another thing that I look for while I'm shooting is symmetry. I like things to be straight. Like if I'm shooting this right here, I'm shooting it. I'm right here in the middle of this, so it looks at all angles. For like portraits and stuff like that, it's all about capturing the moment. I don't like shots where it's like you're posing or things like that. I like candid shots. I like capturing people. Do things that that they didn't know that they were being photographed, and then I just happen to take like a great moment. So that's other things that I look for.
Obviously, the stronger technical side you have in photography, knowing what rules of thirds are and about competition and foreground, background, midground, all those aspects. But for me, if you're shooting landscape and what we call like a postcard shot, which is when, you go to, I don't know, Mount Rushmore and everybody's standing in one spot to get that one picture of Mount Rushmore. My thing is to always, wherever people are, go the opposite place. Go where no one is. Push the boundaries. Try to be creative. Try to think outside the box. So yes, you want that picture to send to grandma or even do a selfie to show mom, like, look, I'm at Mount Rushmore. But then for you to push your creativity, try to do something that no one's ever seen before. And that's where your gear comes into play. Maybe use a tighter telephoto lens to get a tighter shot or crop in. But definitely, first and foremost, to have that kind of foundation of photography, what a rule of thirds, competitions, composition, subject matter is extremely important to get up and running.
There's something else I want to touch on. How many people just shoot on their iPhone? Like, how many people are iPhone photographers? A lot of people in here. And so for me, I think that, yes, having nice gear is really awesome, but I was in school and I was a graduate student and I couldn't afford to buy a $3,000 camera. So something that and a lot of us are taking photos of the same thing. I'm sure that if you guys are scrolling through Instagram now, you're seeing lots of pictures of Yosemite, Moraine Lake, which I'm going to have a photo of that a little bit later. I'm sure all of you guys have seen those places in Canada and in California as well. But one of the most powerful things that you can do is share your story. And so one of the things that I'm really known for on Instagram is for my captions. So if you guys have had a chance to check out some of my longer captions on Instagram, it's because we're all going to go to Half Dome and take photos that are pretty much the same. But the one thing that is going to set you out is your story. And so something that I always like to do is if I'm going to post a photo and I'm going to write a caption underneath it, instead of just posting a photo of Half Dome and writing some John Muir quote and attaching it to it, like, the mountains are calling and I must go. Like, that doesn't mean anything to anybody, right? But if I were to give you guys a story and I were to tell you, like, I woke up at 5 a.m. and I hiked up 7 miles and I saw the sun coming over the mountain, it just connects people more to that image. and it allows people to feel more connected to your work, and it helps you build more authentic connections online. And so that's how I was able to get so far on Instagram while not having expensive equipment, is because I was able to connect people to my story. And at the end of the day, that's really what matters, and that's really what people remember. And something I always like to make the comparison to the company Dove. Dove is a soap company, right? But when we think of Dove, we think of women empowerment. We think of all those body positive messages that we attach to the company Dove. And they're doing that through telling stories of little girls seeing images in the media. And so I think that that's why telling powerful stories in your captions or setting up your photos so that they are telling powerful stories is what's going to have people feel connected to you and want to follow your work or your company. So the next question is, why is framing so important for Instagram? So why is it so important to kind of talk about, piggyback on what you were saying earlier, is having those leading lines? And do you prefer, and this is the question for you guys, there's Instagram recently allowed you to post photos in different formats. So they have portrait, landscape, and still square. And just seeing what some photographers like to post and what resonates with their audience the most. So this one is for you, going back to the first question if you don't remember it. So why is framing so important to you on Instagram? So we'll give you some of your photos there.
Cropping a picture, especially if you're shooting iPhone, a crop can make a huge difference to a picture. So it really all depends on preference on how you, once you shoot it, what I do, and it probably takes me a lot longer, is I always crop it in all three ways. I leave it, I do a portrait, and then I square it up, and I see which one I like from there. As far as framing, it's better to take this, to frame it while you're there instead of having to do it in post. So always, when you're there, just shoot it the way you want to shoot it, so that way, it takes less time, when you're in post-production to, edit it.
And also, I just want to point out, if you guys can see in this photo here, he has these, what I like to call leading lines. So when someone goes to look at this photo, their eyes are drawn to a certain point in the image. You can see that these lines are pointing upwards to a central part in the photo. That's something that you always want to do if you're lining up your photos to take a picture, is you want to make sure that you have a leading line and you're drawing people's eyes to a certain point. That is what is going to allow your image to tell a story, and it's going to allow people to feel more connected and also remember that image as well.
Yeah, to also go, because I didn't see the pictures, but for example, this picture, there's no way I can crop it the square, because I want to show you the full picture. Because if I crop the square, it would probably be, here and here, which will take away a lot from that picture and a lot from the story. There you see how wide it is, and how she was saying the leading lines going up, to the front. So, and then we have the, I can't see. The under the Eiffel Tower. I stood right in the middle of it. Just a different perspective. That's another, something else that you want to look into is a lot of the people shoot the same things. And like how she was saying, you see Yosemite, you see all these places. I'm going to Yosemite next week. And I'm already thinking of different ways to shoot it because so many people have shot it. And you just have to find your own niche. You have to find your own story, your own style of how to shoot it, and just go with it. And then the last picture I have, I was in Panama, San Blas Islands. Amazing place, by the way. That's the clearest waters I've ever been in my life. So yeah, it was just basically framing her. I easily could have just taken out the palm tree, cut it out, to there, but that doesn't tell a story. It's just a girl on the beach on a tree. But with the palm tree, you see paradise. You think, she probably had an amazing time, which she did. And it's all about how you want to tell that story.
Unfortunately, he's not here, so we'll have to skip through that one. Oh, he's here. Where is he? Is he in the back? Dude, homie, get up here. All right, he is here. I'm just kidding. And he's going to get to explain this photo. So why is framing so important for photography?
Framing is important because um, it's it tells a lot, and I just feel like it's hard.
That's all right. We'll catch you on the next one so you can see
Yeah.
the full question. Okay, so for people who are gear people out there, I am a Nikon sponsored photographer. So if you see, look on my feed, most of my photos are taken with a Nikon D750. Do we have any Nikon shooters in here? Or are we all Canon and Leica? Canon? That's all right. No, or Sony. Sony? Okay. I won't be offended and I won't tell Nikon. But I shoot at a Nikon D750, and so that's a full frame DSLR camera. I use a 16 to 35 millimeter lens to get a lot of my landscape photos. And then I also have a 24 to 70 f2.8, which is my favorite lens. And if you are thinking about buying a camera, I highly recommend that lens because it's easy to carry around and you won't need a lot of other lenses when you're traveling. If you guys look through my feed, you'll see a lot of mountains in there, so I do a lot of backpacking, and so I don't want to be carrying a lot of equipment with me. And so having one lens that's kind of does everything is really, really nice. So what gear do you guys shoot on, and what's your favorite lens?
I shoot with a Canon 70D and a Leica T, and my favorite lens would have to be a 24 millimeter because I like wide angles.
For landscape?
Mostly landscapes, cityscapes.
I'm shooting currently right now. I just got a Fuji X-T1. I'm gonna get an X-T2 within the next month. My favorite lens would probably be the 56 1.2 right now because it's so crispy and it just like blurs everything out in the back, you know, when you're shooting that 1.2. Then also another lens is the 55 to 200 for like, you know, telephotos and stuff like that. I was shooting with the Sony. I loved my Sony A7 II, and I was on a rooftop, and I have a wrist strap always on my camera, and I just happened to leave my camera on my tripod, and I took off my wrist strap, and 56 floors down, you know, a $2,500 camera just down the drain like that. So I learned my lesson. Luckily after that,
Insure your gear.
yeah, definitely insure your gear. Luckily, like a few days later, Leica hit me up and they sent me a new camera. They're like, here, use it, you know. And so I was grateful for that. It was the Leica T that a lot of us got, and that's also an amazing camera. But you don't have to spend $3,000 on a camera. To me,
Sorry.
the
I was gonna say, we're actually giving away Moment lenses too. So if you guys have seen those before, we're gonna be giving away a couple of those as well.
That's awesome. Moment lenses are great. To me, the best camera is the one that's always with you. So whether it be your iPhone or a point and shoot, you know, it's whatever camera that's on you that's the best camera. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not about the gear, or it's about who's behind it, you know, and what your eye sees. So.
Well, I'm currently shooting the Fujifilm X-T1 as well. Since I'm mostly focusing on portraits, I use the 56 1.2 a lot as well. But my favorite lenses have got to be the Voigtlander lenses. I mean, there are manual old school lenses, but this is how I started photography with manual lenses. So for me, there's something about having full control of a camera that just really attracts me. So, plus, you know, the bokeh on the Voigtlander, it's like beyond beautiful. But other than that, what he was saying about the iPhone, it really is true. I mean, when I was in New York, during the blizzard that happened in, I think, January, I had a camera that was not weatherproof. So if I took it out, it was going to break. So my favorite photo of New York, I actually took on my iPhone, surprisingly. It was just a photo of Central Park, you know. I think I've already posted it like 3 times. That's how much I like it. But other than that, yeah, like, I mean, any camera you have on you, it's really always going to do the job as long as you know how to compose the photo right. Because especially certain moments that you can't really get with, like, especially if you have like a big Canon, like the Mark III or so, which is like a huge camera, and you try to take a street photo, can't really be too, you know, sneaky about it. People are going to see this huge camera pointed at their face. So, you know, small camera, an iPhone, anything, honestly, really works out for me. So you, big guy?
I would say I want to reinforce the iPhone thing because how many people even know what an f-stop is? Aperture. All right. So I shoot with a Sony and a Nikon. I would say, like right now with lenses, take advantage of some of the rental programs. Borrow lenses or lens rental. Play around with different lenses before you end up spending $2,000 on a lens. You can rent one for $100 for the week and try it out. So that's very important. Know what your needs are, and you can obviously rent lenses. But I want to reinforce the iPhone situation. Like, hopefully we're not coming off in any way, shape, or mean that you need an expensive camera to take amazing photos, because this camera right here is better than any disposable camera I had, in the 90s. So awesome camera with the iPhone 7. How many people are getting the iPhone 7 eventually? Awesome cameras and 2 lenses on that as well. So.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Let me skip through that. Okay, so this is a really, really important question that I want to touch on, and it's talking about editing style and how it has an effect on the story that you want to tell. So if you look through any big Instagrammer's account, you'll notice that they follow certain color schemes, and they also use certain editing styles, and they do this for a reason. And the reason is that when people come to my feed, they expect to see the same thing. And so when you are starting out on Instagram and you're trying to build your brand, you really want to think about the things that you're posting on your feed. Because if you start out, and for me, I'm an adventure travel photographer, and I post a lot of mountainscapes and landscapes as well. And so people are expecting to see that from me. They come to my feed, that's what they want to see. They want to see mountainscapes. And that doesn't mean that I can't go to a cityscape and post something different. But what it does mean is that I have to follow the same color scheme, because I want my feed to look cohesive, and I want to give my audience what they want to see. And that doesn't mean that you can't push yourself outside of your boundaries or do anything different like that. But editing style is really, really important. And so a program that I use a lot is called Adobe Lightroom. And so I actually have different presets set up that I will use for my photos. And I develop those over a period of time. So over a year, I've had a couple of presets that I've set up that I will use on all of my photos, so that every single time I take a photo and I upload it into Lightroom, there's a certain color palette that is always shown across my feed. And this is something that's really important to have a cohesive story across your Instagram feed. This is an example. I know I told you I was giving out moment lenses later. I actually took this photo on my iPhone. So this is Peyto Lake in Canada. And I used a moment lens to take that. And it's actually my most liked photo on my feed. So if you can see, it has like 18.1 thousand likes. And I took that on my phone. So I actually had my DSLR with me. I had both my Canon and my Nikon with me. And I just walked up to Peyto Lake and I was like, this is cool. And so I took a picture of it and I was like, oh, that looks pretty sweet. Like maybe I'll upload that onto Instagram. And it turned out to be my most liked photo on Instagram. And so that's the thing that I love to point out to people, is that you do not need expensive gear to tell really awesome stories. And so I'm sure, how many of you guys have seen this place before on Instagram? Have seen Peyto Lake? Have you guys seen it before? Yeah? So there's a little secret. I'm going to let you guys in, but you can't tell anyone if I tell you guys this secret, okay? So the sun actually doesn't shine on the top of this mountain up here. I added that later in editing using lens distortions. I don't know if you guys have heard of that app before. But I was like, I've seen this photo so many times. I've seen pictures of it. They all look the same, but I want to add an extra light ray at the top of that mountain just so that I can set my photo apart from other people's photos. So if you can see the red light here at the top, it's just something that I added on, and it wound up being one of my most liked photos. So I definitely encourage you guys to use your phone, and I encourage you to use apps like lens distortions. I'll talk about some of my favorite apps later, but to add some uniqueness to your feed. So there's that. And then this is another photo that I took in Canada as well. This is in Jasper National Park. And if you can see there, this was actually taken in the wintertime. So this was taken in February. It was negative 20 degrees outside. It was freezing. You can't tell that because there's not a ton of snow on the ground. But something that, if you guys, are you guys noticing the rule of thirds here? So you're seeing that in the bottom portion, I'm focusing on the human being standing in the middle of the road. And then in the top portion, I wanted to make sure that I had that mountain up at the top. But these leaves that down here actually were actually more of a yellow color. And I didn't want them to be yellow. I wanted them to be red because it matched my feed a little more. I have more pinks and magentas in my feed. So I actually went into Lightroom and I changed the hue setting of the yellows and made them a little bit more red so that it would match my feed. So that's that photo there. So this is you. So if you want to talk about your editing style.
This is actually what's called an HDR photo, and this is, I guess, a little more advanced technique. This is from a building in Detroit, what I did was I took 5 photos. Each one has a different exposure. So one is the one that the camera thinks is the right exposure, then 2 stops under and 2 stops over, and then in Lightroom or other editing software out there for HDR, it merges the photos and it creates what's called high dynamic range. So you can see detail in the shadows, which are towards the front of the picture, and the highlights, which is the sky. So HDR is a simple but a little more advanced technique that really adds that high dynamic range to your shots.
So do you have a specific editing that you use, a program that you use?
This one, I believe I use, it's free on Google. And what's it called? The Google, what's it called? No, not Snapseed. It's a software that you can actually get from Google, and it's actually like 5 or 6 different pieces of software. It used to be like $150, and now it's free. I'll get the name for it once I have an opportunity to Google it. I'll tell you what it is. But you can actually do this now in Lightroom, where you can select the 5 shots that you bracketed. It's just Google HDR, and it'll walk you through the settings on your camera and actually how to achieve this look. Yes, Nick Collection. Thank you. That's it.
Also, if you guys don't want to buy Adobe Lightroom, I actually just pay a subscription fee every month. It's only $8. So Lightroom has changed my life, so I highly recommend using that. Okay, so defining your niche on Instagram. So like I was saying before, I take a lot of mountain landscapes. And so finding your niche is something that's really, really important because you want your audience, they expect to see the same thing when they come to your feed. So it's really, really important to have a certain niche because people are going to rally behind that, and you'll be able to collaborate with other photographers that have the similar niche. So I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm sure you guys know a lot of photographers that live up there. Here's a picture of my feed. If you guys can see, it's pretty obvious. I take photos of kind of the same thing there. And so I wanted to highlight some of the other photographers' feeds and just talk about, because theirs a little more ambiguous, so I wanted to see if maybe you guys had a certain niche that you guys focus on.
Well, it's funny. I think I'm probably the rebel of niche for me, because when I started photography, everyone was telling me to shoot like you have to specify in a certain type of photography. And for me, I didn't want to be a part of that mold, you know. I didn't want to be in that box. So I shoot everything. I shoot landscapes, I shoot portraits, I shoot music, I shoot cityscapes, I shoot food, I shoot anything I can shoot, you know what I'm saying? Anything that I think is dope, I will shoot it. And, you know, I know it's unconventional. I know most of the people, maybe 90% of the people will tell you specifying one thing and shoot that, but to me, just be your own person, you know, like do what you love, shoot what you love, and you know, if that audience, and just be good to people, learn to engage. You know, engaging is very important on social media, because they reciprocate that love, and so then they come to your feed, and you know, they don't just love the landscapes or the portraits. You know, they love everything that you shoot. You know, because they know you personally, or you know, you just get that vibe from people. So my advice is just shoot what you love. You know, like, yes, find your niche, you know, like if you can, but shoot what you love, have fun doing it, and that's it. But don't listen to me. Be your own person, you know. And that's it.
So we're gonna let someone explain their feed. We only have 5 minutes left, but I wanted to give you guys the last 15 minutes to ask us questions. So if you guys had specific questions that you wanted to ask, then I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to do that. So, so Alex, if you wanted to explain that.
Okay. So we're still talking about styles, right? Niche?
Yeah, so
Right, cool.
your photography style.
So for me, it's a little different, I guess, because I started as a film skateboarding photographer. So right now, I'm basically just shooting a lot of cityscapes and focusing on portraits. So I guess I've always had a hard time focusing on just one style, just because I start focusing on one style, but then I look at another style, I'm like, I like this, I want to try it out. And then I just completely focus on that. So I'm always all over the place. I'm probably the worst to talk about niche when it comes to that. But, you know, honestly, I do it just because I love photographing everything. Anything that catches my eye, anything that seems interesting, anything that I can do something cool with, to be honest. I am actually focusing a lot on portraits right now. And, you know, I'm working with a lot of modeling agencies. So now that I actually have access to a lot of really cool models, people that know what they're, you know, doing instead of just being my friends in front of my camera, I'm, you know, very focused on that. And, you know, it's all about, for me, when it comes to poetry, it's all about trying to take out, I can't even remember the word that I was looking for. But it's all about, you know, trying to tell a story with these people, try to have certain emotions in the photos. You know, and of course, I can never stop shooting cityscapes. New York, by the way, is one of my favorite cities. I just, you know, I live in Miami, I shoot Miami, but whenever I have a chance, I fly out to New York. It always looks different, so for me, it's really cool, too. I'm trying to go again.
Can I say something about the niche?
Yeah.
If you're a brand, like these are our personal Instagram accounts, right? One thing that, so far we've been talking 45 minutes, one thing you haven't seen is any graphics. Instagram and graphics don't really mix. If you go to Macy's Instagram account, you would assume you would see tons of 30% off this weekend, 20% off this weekend. I don't think they have any graphics on their feed at all. It's all fashion. It's all related to the products they sell, but it's done in their own niche. They do it in their own way. They have a stylized brand. Netflix, you figure you would see a graphic. Narcos released on Friday. No, they use art and their own style of photography to promote their shows, and they use the caption to give more of the information if you want to dig a little deeper and get more of the details. So I think the one thing that if you could take away from this, if you're a brand and you're trying to market and you're trying to make sales, is don't spam the people that you develop that come to your feed. Definitely find that niche. If it's a restaurant, you can take, you know, get your patrons permission to take portraits about candids of them having a great time at your establishment, some of your food. There's ways to think outside the box rather than doing a bunch of graphics and spamming potential salespeople. I mean, potential clients or people that you're trying to make sales to, right?
So yeah, so we have 15 minutes left, and I did have a couple more questions that I was going to ask, but I really wanted to give you guys the opportunity to ask us questions in case we didn't address anything that you guys wanted to see. So if you guys have any questions for us, we'd love to answer them. Yeah, in the back? So videos on Instagram is what you're asking?
Are you, me personally, look, if that's what people come to your feed to get, and you want to do videos that are giving information, if they're in a creative way, you know, if you're doing them in a creative way, and that's what, you know, your followers are coming to expect, I say go for it. I say everybody here should definitely, if video is part of your brand and who you are, you should definitely utilize it. And also utilize, I call it Insta Snap, but Insta Stories is a great way to now let people know who you are behind the lens. Before, we never really wanted to show who we are because we don't want to ruin the feed and maybe potentially lose followers. But now definitely use Insta Snap or Insta Stories as a way to showcase who you are, the person behind the lens as well. So I think everything that Instagram is rolling out video-wise and Insta Stories-wise is extremely valuable, and you can definitely use that for your brand.
And definitely, I've seen a lot of photographers use Instagram video to kind of highlight their trip overall. So you, instead of just having one photo, you kind of get a behind the scenes and also other things that kind of happened in that trip. So I think that, and it pushes people onto other platforms. So say that if you had a YouTube channel that you're trying to promote, you could put a short clip on your Instagram account that will push people over into your YouTube channel as well. So
And-
yeah.
I'm sorry, and two things. Don't forget to use the cover, select a cover, a thumbnail of that Instagram video, and don't make it a graphic. Make it a picture or something that if it just stood alone would probably get likes on its own. So that's another important thing. Don't overlook your cover photo, and also you don't have to use a minute full of the full minute of Instagram video that's allowed. If you're getting your message across in 10 seconds, then get it across in the shortest time possible. And also think about how it loops as well. When you produce a video with the intro, think about how it ends. So when it loops back, maybe it's right on the beat if you have music, or it makes sense so you could watch it like a Vine over and over again. All very important things to consider when creating video aspects of Instagram.
Yeah. Uh-huh. To be honest, and I'm sure they can all resonate with me, even if I watermark my photo, there's going to be somebody out there who's still going to rip it off. I've seen a photo of mine get shared on Tumblr like hundreds of thousands of times with absolutely no credit to my name. British Airways actually used my photo to promote their brand on their own Instagram account. So watermarks, I mean, you can try and protect your images. But it's just really difficult to do, and I think that that's always going to happen. But I think being aware of the different copyright laws when you do put your photos on Instagram, and knowing the right ways to approach a brand if they are using your photo without your permission, because if you do upload it onto Instagram, you do own the rights to that photo. So I think knowing your rights there, and then just making sure that you're reaching out to the right people who can protect you. So I think.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. Knowing your rights, and to be honest with you, it's inevitable. Like, they're going to take your picture. It's happened to me a few times, and you just got to charge it to the game. You got to just continue, keep going forward, keep pumping out like good content, and it's going to happen. But you could reach out. I've had, it's not maybe 3 out of 10 I've had where I've been successful in retaining like my rights for pictures that have been posted and stuff like that. But it just comes with it. And at the end of the day, look at it this way: like, if they're taking it, like, you're doing a great job.
That's a good way to look at it. So yeah. Is there any more questions?
And real quick, I want to bring up a point with the photography. If you go to Getty Images, which are professional photographers who sell their artwork, if you go to they really don't even have Instagram feeds. They really don't. Like, they keep their work private to themselves. I think all of us up here are showcasing our skills we're at a different level than, let's say, a professional, that's all they do and they sell other photos to Getty. I think all of us are showcasing our skills to brands to reach out to us, and then we do projects for them that they retain the rights to. So I think we're using more Instagram as like a marketing tool for ourselves. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, I don't know if we'll be able to hear in the back. Should we bring a mic back up? In the way back.
So when you talk about blurring a photo, how do you make the blur look like it's on purpose? Because sometimes I'll take a photo and I think I'm making it look really cool, and I'll blur something out, and I want this to be the focus, and then someone will come up to me and say, your photo's blurry. And I'm thinking, yeah, I did that on purpose. So how do you make it look on purpose? How do you make it look like the art that you guys produce?
It's funny you say that, because there's actually a hashtag on Instagram called Blur Purpose, so definitely check that out. For that reason, for people who are trying to blur the photo on purpose. But what you're talking about is called bokeh. And so that's when the lens is focusing on a certain thing and you're trying to blur out the background, and you'll see that a lot in different portraits. And these people probably know a lot more technical, and my friends here probably know more technical stuff when it comes to that, but
Basically, what you're talking about is the aperture. You know, the lower is the aperture, the more light comes inside the lens, but the less of a focal length you have. So the reason people probably tell you like some of your photos are blurry is because maybe you might be blurring out the main part of the photo. So let's say if you're taking a portrait and you blur out the person, you know, people might think, oh, like, oh, you know, the person is blurry. But now, if you compose this right, you can actually make beautiful photos. I don't know if you guys know about Kat underscore in NYC or something like that. She does a lot of photos like that, where she has the background actually in focus, and then the person in front will be blurry, but she makes it look in a beautiful way. You know, so if you actually get creative with it, you can make it work. But it's
Cat underscore
Or-
NYC.
yeah, something
She's
like
a
that.
big photographer based out of New York City. So.
So, you know, she's really good too when it comes to like if you want to see creative way of like blurring out photos, etc.
Yeah. So here in the front.
So you guys are all very successful. You have a huge following for all of your channels for Instagram. But I'm curious, I have a two-part question. Hashtags. What are your thoughts on hashtags? And did that evolve over time for you as you grew your following? Like, did you use more hashtags when you got started and then dismiss them as you went along? So just tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on that.
Well, you get 30 hashtags. I would recommend using them. Why not? And the only suggestion I would have is don't put them in the caption. Be the first comment, and that way you can edit those later without having to edit your caption. And your caption is a little more clean and concise. So go ahead. I mean, I see nothing wrong with taking advantage of hashtags. It just increases the odds more people are going to see your feed and see your work. So.
All right, so I've actually never used hashtags ever. The only time that I use hashtags, and not to get my work out there, but I do use hashtags if I'm going on a trip. So say that I'm going on a sponsored trip with other photographers, I will create a hashtag for that trip, and when I'm promoting that certain event or that trip, I will tell people about the hashtag so they can go and see the collection of images from that particular trip. And that's when I actually prefer to use hashtags because I feel like it goes along with the storytelling of the trip itself. So.
Yeah, I would say if you're saying hashtag sunrise, hashtag Miami, had an amazing experience, blah, 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 blah. Like those are kind of obvious ones you can stick in. But when you get into those deeper hashtags, maybe your camera gear or long exposure or landscape, those kind of hashtags that people might be seeking out, that's where I would put those in the first comment. But obvious ones like city, maybe it's just some basic, information that's in the caption. I don't see anything wrong with that.
How did people find your work before you guys got the following? How did it start? Like, how did people start reaching out to you and following your pages?
You have to interact with people. Here's the biggest thing about Instagram. You have to engage people. If you sit back and expect people to come to you, no way. You have to like, comment, follow. You have to follow people. You can't be one of these people that are, I only want to have 100 followers. Eventually, you can trim down your followers because you want that kind of content in your feed. But to get started, you need to follow people, ask people to follow back. You need to like. It's a job. It's a job on Instagram, just sitting there, liking, commenting, copy and paste. Like, love the photo, great shot, thumbs up, emojis all day. You need to engage. And when people engage you, you better answer back. You need to answer back every single person. Thank you, means a lot. Create a base of real people. And that's how we've all met each other, was not through the Miami photo events, but we all support each other's work and are constantly dope shot, man. Hey, bro, banger, blah, blah, blah. So you have to engage. Actually make friends on Instagram. Do not just sit back and expect people to find a hashtag, follow you, and like your work. You have to engage with people constantly.
Yeah, and Instameets, what he was talking about before. I've gone on several trips where I actually didn't even meet the people on my trip until I arrived there. So yeah, definitely Instagram is the best platform to me because it has the biggest community. So definitely engage with the community, engage with the photographers, and don't be afraid to reach out to people as well. In the back.
So many of the same type of things online a lot of the time. Oh, okay. Do you want me to repeat myself? Okay. So I have an Instagram where I create recipes, but I have a certain angle that I have towards the people who I want to attract. It's called Concerned Cook. So it's healthy meals that are fast and easy for people that are in a rush, right? So that's kind of like my target. And I'm having a problem creating a story because I don't do it as myself. That's something I'm considering doing after I make a logo and I kind of, I guess, see how I want to introduce myself. But for now, it's all about the food. And when I travel, maybe like, let's say like in Barcelona, if you go to like the market, I would show that as kind of like food knowledge. But I'm having trouble creating a story that doesn't get confused with maybe every other food blog on Instagram.
I would say that that's where the editing style comes in again, and the planning out of the Instagram feed. So, and this is going to sound a little obsessive, but I actually have a separate Instagram account, which is called Emmy Toms One, which has 7,000 followers, which is really weird. But I just post the same photos on there that I post on my other feed, because I just want to see how it's going to look on my Instagram feed itself. So that's where that cohesion comes back in, right? So the editing style, the color schemes. And also not being afraid to share some of your own personal story. I think having just plain recipes on there is okay, but I think it's also cool to post maybe your experience with the trip that you're traveling, maybe some behind the scenes as well, because you want people to feel not just connected to the recipes or the stuff that you're putting out there online, but you want people to feel connected to you as a creator. So I think not being afraid to share some of your personal stuff, share some of your own personal experiences mixed in with some of your recipes as well. So, yeah.
How do you find the balance between saying like your brand, Emmy Tom, and then maybe you guys have a personal Instagram account?
Oh, you mean where we post stuff like selfies and stuff like that? I don't anymore. That's the thing. I mean, I wish I could. Some days I'm just like, I really am looking good today and I just want to post a selfie on my feed. But my audience would hate that. That'd be like, that is not a mountain and I do not want to follow you anymore. That doesn't mean that you can't. I just have to get a little more creative with my selfies now. But yeah, I know a lot of photographers that have separate feeds just for those things. But I think it goes back to like getting creative with posting your own personal life on your Instagram and finding a way to use your editing style and use your style of photography to include yourself into your photos. And it becomes a really fun, creative way to do that. I don't know if you guys have any.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I keep the Woo Supreme brand just for pictures, and then I have a personal account, Edgar Woo, that I have, and I put anything that doesn't make the Woo Supreme cut. So you'll still see pictures that I edited and stuff like that, but you'll also see some not selfies, but like portraits of myself. I'm not.
Snapchat too.
Yeah, Snapchat.
Right? Use
Snapchat
Snapchat.
is huge for me. Like I love it. I'm trying to get used to IG stories, but I'm more of a Snapchat kind of guy, and it's all about engaging as well. Like on Snapchat, there's a lot of engagement going on, and you get to talk to people that you normally don't talk to, or maybe you might miss on IG that they follow you, and you might miss a comment or something and not get back to them for a few days, where Snapchat is like right there, and you get to speak to them. So definitely.
Well, for me, I tend to use IG stories a lot, and Snapchat definitely. I had it a little bit hard because before I used to be that person that if I liked a shadow or something, I would literally take a photo of my phone and I would post it on Instagram. And I would post like about 10 pictures a day. So, if you want to do something like that, IG stories or Snapchat is definitely, a really good tool for it. Because, you don't want to have to post.
Yeah, I keep pressing the button on his, so every time I see his, like,
Yeah, I don't know if it was working or not. But yeah, IG stories and Snapchat is definitely a good tool for that. So you can keep sharing your professional work, let's say on Instagram, but you put anything else that maybe you like it, but you don't think it will go with your feed. You can post it on IG stories. Especially, IG stories lets you upload straight from the camera roll. Oh, Snapchat actually does too. So you still got different tools.
I think we're done now, right? Yeah. So we're on.
You guys want to let it go a little bit? It's okay.
Yeah, if you guys have any more.
One more thing. Emily mentioned she uses Lightroom and Adobe in her subscription. If you guys want to get more information on Adobe, Joe Martin's the man to talk to from Adobe. Make sure you
Oh, also, do you guys want some moment lenses? Does anyone want some of those? All right. So I have 4 moment lenses in here. I have two telephoto lenses, 1 wide angle lens. So wide angle will get more into the photo. Telephoto will get you up closer. So maybe should we do like a quiz or something? How should we give these away? Because I only have 4. I'd love to give you guys all lenses, but I can't. So what should we do?
A raffle?
What?
Yeah, I think a raffle might be the best.
I don't know how to do it. I know. Okay. What? All right. So we'll do. Who in the audience knows where I went on my last trip? What part of Canada? No. No. Where'd you say? That's in California. But no. Well, Florida. Who said Whistler? Who said Whistler? All right, you get one then. All right, so you do another trivia.